Larry, I hope we're friends.
So far.
Yeah. Larry has taught me a lot about things that I've done. He's done demonstrations all over this country, I know. I caught up with him first time in Albuquerque at the symposium there. First time I knew of him or had met him. But I think you'll enjoy it. He does a great job. Inlays, onlays, and outlays. Okay. Here's Larry.
There you go. Can you hear me now? All right. Larry Fox is my name. I'm from, lived in Woodland Park for about 40 years and just a couple of years ago moved to Castle Rock. So that brings me up here a lot more often. But really, before I get started, hopefully I'm going to answer some of your questions tonight that you have about inlaying and outlaying. But before I get started, I kind of like to maybe try to get some answers from you folks about a few things. We all deal with wood, and we deal with electronic gizmos and computers and cell phones and all that. But if a tree wanted to get onto the internet, how would it go about it? There you go. It would log on. Okay, let's try something else. What does the tree do when the bank closes? Well, it would just open a new branch. Can you handle one more? Okay, so what kind of a tree fits in your hand? There you go. All right, I'm done. Let me get on with something I might know more about. Tonight, what we're going to do what I call an outlay. And that's where we put some sort of substrate around the top edge of a bowl. All right? Here I've got examples of using turquoise. All right? Turquoise has a certain expense to it. Tonight, I'm going to show you some more economical ways to put an outlay around the top of the bowl. And we're going to use such things as sand, tempera paint, some gizmo that you buy at, some coloring that you buy at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and then your wife's food coloring. With that, I'll pass this around. This has, and another one we'll use is sand. Sand from Hobby Lobby. Comes in 15 different colors or so. Very economical way to get something cool on the edge of a bowl. So I'll pass that guy around. Then the next thing we're going to do is a inlay. And here I'm going to use turquoise and sand doing an inlay. Again, the turquoise is a little more expensive, sand a lot less expensive. So we'll pass this guy around. We're going to do something like that. And then we're going to do something like this, kind of a design, real thin line thing. And we'll pass that one around. All right, let's get started. One of the things that's cool about doing an outlay on a bowl is that bowl that's going around, that's aspen. Aspen, a pretty boring wood. Not unless it's been dead standing for a period of time, it can be, pretty bland, not have much character to it at all. And this one here happens to be a little bit spalded, which has a little character to it. But by putting something around it, around the top edge, it always elicits the question of, wow, how'd they do that? Okay, and that's part of the surprise. Cindy DeRoy always talks about an underneath lid of her finials, she puts something. It's kind of like the surprise. And the same way here. is more bold and more outstanding, but it's the same idea, to get something that's a surprise. I'll pass this one around in just a second, but we're going to set up here and get started. Okay, I've rough turned a bowl here. We're going to put on. This one is, this wood is box elder, compliments of Jonathan, your club members. Okay, the way we're going to start, we want to cut this groove in here. That's what we're going to do. We're going to cut a groove in here. Now, first thing we want to do is make sure that our groove, when we cut it in, we don't go through the side of the bowl. All right, so we need to line up our tool rest in such a way that we can predict where this is going. And what I'm going to use is just a simple little square block of wood. All right, I'm going to put it, now I don't know if you got this on camera. Yeah, sort of. Okay, I'm going to just line this block of wood up perpendicular to the edge of the bowl so that I'm flat against the edge of the bowl and flat against my tool rest. Now, all I have to do is take my parting tool and keep it perpendicular to my tool rest. And I won't end up at an angle here where I'm going to go through the side of the bowl. Okay, because I'm going to cut this 32nd of an inch or so away from the edge of the bowl. All right. Let's turn the lathe on.
How deep?
Pardon me?
How deep roughly?
How deep?
How deep do you have?
About 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to go down about 1/4 of an inch, and that's what my bevel is here. I made the bevel 1/4 of an inch, and so all I have to do is watch till that bevel gets to the top of my bowl, and then I know I'm 1/4 inch deep. So I don't have to stop and measure. All right. Oh, first of all, where'd they go? My safety glasses. There they are. When I'm at home turning, I always wear, safety is one of the things every demonstrator either does or should at least talk about for a moment. And when I'm at home working, I not only wear the safety glasses, I wear a gas mask also that is one of the 3M gas masks that filters out both particulates, sawdust, and fumes, because I deal a lot with CA glue. And so I wear that, and then I wear a face shield. Okay, tonight I'll just stick with the safety glasses so that I can still talk and you can hear me. All right, so we'll turn this on. First thing I should make sure is that the outside of my bowl is running true, and in this case it is. I trued it up at home and it hasn't moved at all, so I don't really have to worry about it. And here I'm just going to cut a groove. All right, and the side I'm going to move over and make it just a little bit wider. Right down to the bottom, and it's as simple as that to get a groove. Now, one of the problems you're going to run into with that groove is, like I say, it's only the outside here is only about a 32nd of an inch thick. And occasionally, like this one, when I packed it in the box, it broke here. Well, now it's really broken. Where's the camera? Now it's really broken. All right, that's going to happen to you. So we can take care of that. What we're going to do, we need a scissors here and a piece of tape. And I use this blue tape because it's not as sticky as masking tape. The blue tape doesn't have quite as much stickum to it. And so when you're CA glue or your epoxy interacts with it, it's not so sticky. Anyway, what we're going to do is just put a piece of tape across here. Let me make it a little bit longer here. And in effect, what we're doing is making a dam. I'm going to put it on the inside and the outside. Okay? That inside isn't strong enough by itself. So we're going to take another piece, put it on the outside, and have it come down below our breakout area there. Okay? Then we'll just stick those two together. I'll take a little scissors, cut this across, and I've got a little dam there that will work. And we don't have to throw that bowl away or fix it or anything. All right? It's that simple to take care of. All right. Meanwhile, we'll take this guy off. We'll take this guy off and go about our next step of creating an outlay. Let me move these things around here. These are pieces that I brought in. You come up and feel free to pick them up and look at them. Try not to drop them on the floor, though. I already dropped this guy once. Okay. I need that tape. All right. We're going to use epoxy glue on the inside for doing our, what I call outlay. And epoxy glue, you can use all kinds of different epoxy glues. This is a Gorilla Glue. This is a 5-minute epoxy. Bought at lumber yards or Walmart or wherever, hardware stores. This is stick fast. I've used a variety of 5-minute epoxies, and incidentally, it is 5-minute epoxy. I've used a variety of them, and they all work except the West system. The West system can work, but it's really cumbersome because you have to let it sit for a period of time. And my period of time was different than their period of time. And I never quite got it right. And the other problem with that pot life, they call it, of letting it sit, is that if you're going to mix turquoise with it, you want a 5-minute epoxy so that when you mix your turquoise in and you put it in the groove here, that some of the heavier pieces will drop to the bottom and the lighter pieces will stay suspended inside so that you get your turquoise scattered throughout the outlay rather than everything sinking to the bottom, which is what tends to happen with the West system. Okay, but other than that, all the epoxies I've used, all the 5-minute epoxies have worked fine. Okay, we're going to do, like I said, a variety of things here. This is sand that you buy at Hobby Lobby. It's pretty economical, or very economical. This is $2.50 for a big old jar of it. All right, to mix it up, we're going to take our, to mix these evenly, what I do is I'll make circles here, and I'll just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll be enough to start with. And then I'll take the other part of it, the resin part, and make 5 circles there. 1, 2, 3. This is going slower. 4, and 5. I'm going to cut bigger holes in the top of this. All right. We're going to mix this up. And you might think 5-minute epoxy, I got to hurry. Well, I don't have to really hurry that much. I'm going to take and cut the tops off of those to make them a little larger, so it'll flow out a little faster. And I'm not really worried about that setting up and being too hard on me. 5 minutes is quite a period of time. Now, I'm going to take some of this sand and mix it in. And how much you put in, just cover the top of your puddle.
Is that actually sand?
Yes, it is. It's colored sand. It's, I call it imported silica. It's colored sand from China. So, all right, it has a little more exoticness to it. But yeah, it is. It's just colored sand. Now, it's all nicely sized, so it's all the same size sand. It's not like sand you get from the beach where you got big pebbles and little pebbles. Okay. Pardon me? Well, I'll tell you a little story about that in a second.
Labor's cheap there. They have people picking out the little pieces.
Well, when I first started doing this, and I was working with turquoise, well, first of all, I'm going to use a putty knife here, and I can just pick that up. It'll stay on there, on that putty knife, because I've let it, dry or cure just a little bit. So it's pretty easy to work with. And I'm just going to pick it up with that spatula and put it in this little groove.
You mix up small quantities, you don't mix up enough to do the whole thing?
No. Normally, what I'll do, on a bowl this size, I would mix up enough to do half of it. Okay, half the bowl. But I don't recommend doing that to start with. Start with smaller quantities like I just did there, and then build up, until you get comfortable with working with the epoxy, because that's the thing I found with people working with a 5-minute epoxy is they start getting nervous about it, and you don't have to. You've got plenty of time. All right? Okay. So that's where we're going to put it in. Now, back to that story about when I first started. I started with using turquoise, and I needed to crush up the turquoise, and I was crushing it up in various and different ways, and one day I hit upon the idea, my wife's coffee grinder would work really well. So I went upstairs, got the coffee grinder. Of course, she wasn't home. And by golly, that coffee grinder worked really well. Once. Never to grind coffee again. This was some 12 or 13 years ago. I have not yet gotten her a coffee grinder that was as good as that one that I destroyed. So I still hear about it. But oh well, don't use your wife's coffee grinder. Then what I did in grinding up turquoise is I went to blenders. You can buy a blender at Goodwill. Yeah, at Goodwill, normally for about $10. Sometimes they're if they have them on sale, they're $5 or something like that. But the normal price is about $10, and they work really well, really, really well, and they will last quite a while. Quite a while. You'll burn out you'll wear out the grinding part. And I found with some of them, you can buy grinding parts for like $7 from Amazon. So that does work. It does work well. And by quite a while, I would say I could grind up a couple pounds of turquoise before that blade wore out. Okay? That's a pretty easy way of doing it. All right. We're going to go on to mixing up some more here. And this time, we're going to use, let's use this food coloring. It's a little blue food coloring. No. Flour grinder has like a tube that has metal teeth in it. Is that right? It's a okay. Okay. All right. There's your answer for that. All right. Here we're going to go a little further this next time here because I intended to do about a fourth of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go 6. That'll get us about halfway through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the 5-minute epoxy, the people that designed it, made it so it's pretty forgiving. In other words, if you don't have it exact, it still hardens. Okay, and we're going to use food coloring. This is just, I took this out of my wife's kitchen. I thought it was blue. She doesn't make blue foods. It should be okay. No. And have I told her about it? No. But I will put it back after tonight. Now, she's maybe going to want to know why the blue stuff on my fingers, but there I just used 3 drops of it. On that bowl that's going around, I used a little bit more than that, and it kind of was a blackish color. This is just regular, what I used to call typing paper, but it's printing paper now. I made a mistake of my son the other day saying something about typing paper, and he says, "What's that?" Yeah, right.
Larry, on your food processor, do you use plastic or glass?
If I use glass, I put duct tape around it. Actually, I put duct tape around the plastic also, because and then also don't use too big a stones, because it will throw it through the side. I never broke a glass one, but I did break a plastic one. Okay, we mix that up. This is what I'm trying to get at here. A couple of things. One is we've got a relatively boring piece of wood, and we want to economically decorate it. And that's what we're doing. The food coloring and didn't cost us much. The epoxy is pretty reasonable. Now, as you'll notice on that bowl that I passed around, you cannot tell, you can't feel where the 2 colors went together. And that's what will happen with this, whether you're using some sort of coloring or whether you're using turquoise. The epoxy is dried in between applications, but you can't tell where you started and stopped. Okay? The epoxy is going to blend in. It's going to blend right in, and you won't feel where you started and stopped.
The food coloring doesn't discolor the wood where on the sides?
No. Well, we're going to take away that wood, but I didn't notice that though.
It doesn't seep through the grain?
Uh,
That's more accurately said than that.
well, when I cut the wood away, I didn't notice that it had, seeped into the grain. I didn't notice that, but we're going to take that wood on each side away anyway. All right.
So I noticed you don't fill the groove up with turquoise or put CA glue or nothing.
No, that's too expensive. The CA glue, using CA glue is way more expensive than using epoxy. Now, when we do the inlay inside, we're going to use CA glue. But around here, that trough is a 1/4 inch deep and almost a 1/4 inch wide. That would take a tremendous amount of CA glue. Okay? All right. Plastic resin. No, I haven't. No. Okay. We'll do this 2 more times here.
So the width of the
Right. Okay. All right. And I'm going to pass these things around. This label came off just so you can kind of see what it is I'm talking about here. This is Hobby Lobby or Michael's. Okay, this time we're going to use, this is a washable tempera paint. All right, from Hobby Lobby. And it's something they had on the shelf there. This was $1.59, and this is a huge bottle of it. What it is it's a powder. Oh, no, this isn't a powder. It's a liquid. I had some powder, but this is a liquid. I hadn't used this one before. I had some powder tempura, worked just fine. This one's a liquid. I don't see any reason why it won't work just fine. I don't see any problem with that because it's a coloring. Okay? And all we're trying to do is color that epoxy. Nice bright Kelly green Irish color. All right, again, we're going to let that sit for just a second. I think I might even put another drop in there. Comes out kind of thick. We'll pass that one around. There we go. That's a little better. All right. And again, we're just going to pick this up and put it in. My glasses don't want to stay on there because I have hearing aids and talking things. No, I'm not that old, but I do have to have hearing aids. Okay, and one of the things I want you to notice here is how quickly this goes. Does not have to be a real messy thing. Usually I'm sitting down when I do it, but standing up, no problem. All right, and I'll leave enough room to do one more. And that thing about that being water-based, I didn't see any problem with that at all. No, I didn't see any at the time I was looking for various and assorted things. Normally, I just use turquoise, normally. But I wanted to show you that there are many other things that can be used that are more economical than turquoise. Yes, right. I happen to have brought some with me. And what I use is Cripple Creek turquoise. Dennis Liggett, a good friend of mine down in the Colorado Springs Club, Pikes Peak Woodturners, sells all manner and sorts of turquoise and other types of inlay, mother of pearl. And he has Sleeping Beauty, number 9 mine, Kingman mine, some really high class turquoise. The reason I use Cripple Creek turquoise is it's kind of a more of a greenish color than the real bright blue, like Sleeping Beauty turquoise. And as you can see in these bowls, pass this guy around, you can see a depth there with the various colors, and there's a little bit of crushed granite in there, a little bit of imperfection, and you can see that it has some depth. When you use just like Sleeping Beauty, which is a high-class turquoise, light blue, when you do it, put it on a rim like that, it looks like plastic. It's not, but it looks like plastic because it's so uniform in color and it's so pure. And that's the reason I don't use it. This is more, I use earth tone colors in the wood. I try to use earth tone colors in the turquoise. And that real bright blue turquoise is a sky color. Okay, this one here, this is just some powdered metallic stuff that I bought at Hobby Lobby. And it's a coloring, just a metallic coloring. It can be mixed with a number of different things. And again, it was very economical. I bought a box of, I think, 15 different colors for about $8. And here it is. It's just beautiful gold color. Kind of a metallic gold. Again, what we're doing is just trying to, find an economical way to enhance your bowl. This is really pretty stuff. I hadn't used this particular color before. Then the turquoise? Yes. And the sand. Yes, it is. The sand actually isn't that bad. It will sand with, aluminum oxide sandpaper. Oh, dripping off the edge here. Okay, that's how easy it is to put an enhancement around what I call a outlay. And that's how easy it is. This right here, we're sticking. It's a little sticky. Let's let this sit for a couple minutes before I pass it around. All right. Now, after we've done that, what we need to do is sand that and get our rim done. Here's a piece of madrone. Madrone is, according to Dale Larson, one of the most beautiful woods there is. But he makes salad bowls. Madrone is kind of a boring, grained wood. And here I took pink sand, and I put pink sand around it. And we're going to go ahead and turn this off of here. Now, whoever thought of using pink in a bowl? When I was doing craft shows, I always had a couple of these because some little 6-year-old girl, Mommy, I want that. Type of thing. I mean, it's cool. What can you get for a little girl in a bowl? A pink rimmed bowl. Anyway, just an idea. Okay, what they suggest is that you let it sit overnight, and that's what I normally do. But I have turned them in as soon as 2 hours. Okay, what happens in turning it in 2 hours? What I noticed is when I'm sanding the outside of it here, if I get it too hot, it gets a little rubbery. But then you take the air hose, blow air on it, cool it down, and it's back to being hard again. Now, after I let it sit overnight, no problem. But I have turned them in as soon as 2 hours, just because I wanted to see what happened. They say it's and I forget exactly what it is. In a half an hour, it's 65 or 70% cured. In 2 hours, it's 90% cured. Overnight, it's 100% cured. It's something like that, and don't quote me on that, but it's something close to that. All right, this is sand, and if we were using turquoise, we'd do it the same way. Now, we don't want to do a whole lot of sanding, but I'm going to do a little bit here. This is bubbled up around the top, which I think we can probably pass this guy around now, and you'll see that. It's a little tacky. Try not to touch it unless you want some tackiness on you. Okay, this is regular aluminum oxide sandpaper, and I'm using 60 grit. Use the roughest thing you got. We want to get that stuff off as fast as we can. All right.
You always use a large tenant, fairly large tenant.
On this, no, actually, I would have used a little smaller one, but that's okay. That's all right. I don't have any problem with that. When I flip it around, I'm going to make that a whole lot smaller. Okay? All right. And like I say, we don't want to do a tremendous amount of sanding, but I do need to do a little bit here. And then, what I want to show is that how quickly this sands. And the turquoise will sand equally quickly with aluminum oxide.
You don't turn the blade on at all?
No. No, because I want to get what I did in the bowl, and I should have mentioned this. You see the bowls are about 3/4 of an inch thick. The reason for that is so that when I go to sand this, my sandpaper is flat against there. If I had a 32nd of an inch on each side, then my sanding is going to wobble around, and I'm not going to end up with a flat surface. Okay? This goes pretty quickly. We're half done. And normally at home I'd use a 5-inch disc, which would even go a little bit faster. But I knew that most of you don't have 5-inch discs, and so a 3-inch disc will work just fine. Okay, now that's done. Now I will turn it on and run it backwards just to make sure I got that all flat. Okay? All right. And that's all that takes for sanding the top part of it. Now we'll move to the outside, and we're just going to turn the wood away. I usually wear a glove. I'm just more comfortable with that. Let's get it running the right direction. And we'll just turn this right down to the edge there. Okay. All right, I can see the pink coming through in a couple places, so that's good enough. Let me sand the rest of it away. Okay, again, I don't want to get carried away with sanding, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn it right down to where the pink's showing through, and then I'm going to sand the rest of it. Okay, and with the lathe off until I get that pink all the way around. All right, the inside, we're going to do the same thing.
Do you do it at different grits at a certain point?
Yeah, once I get it all taken off with 60 grit, then I'll go to 80 and then 120. And I'll sand that actually all the way. As I finish the bowl, I'll sand it all as I'm sanding the bowl. And I'll go up to 400. 400 or sometimes 600 depending on the wood. But at least 400. Okay, and here on the inside, we're just going to do the same thing. Take this down now. I'm only going to go down part way here. I'm not going all the way down to the bottom. Okay, and we'll get real close here. I must have hit it because my tool's getting dull. Let's see. And I did. Oh my! All right. That's part of fringe benefit. This is Madrone. This is high dollar stuff. There you go. All right. Okay, as far as sanding, again, I'll just sand it like this. I didn't go all the way to the bottom because I want this is kind of thin up here. I want to keep some stability at the bottom for my thinness up here. And I'll sand this before I finish off the inside of the bowl. So again, I'm just going to sand this. All right, I would do that all the way around. Now, somebody asked about turning the lathe on. And now I would turn the lathe on and round the edge off. Okay, spin it the other way and round the outside edge off. Go back. Which I don't know if you all know that. You could turn the lathe backwards and forwards without shutting the lathe off on the Powermatic and the jets. I don't know if you all knew that or not. Well, I've been doing it for 15 years, and I have been told that, and they haven't burned up yet. The chuck back off? Oh, once or twice. Once or twice. Okay. This is what we're going to do on this. Now, that pink is a little, what do I call it? A little faded. Once I put sanding sealer, half sanding sealer, half lacquer thinner. I'm going to finish all my bowls with that. So once you put that on here, that pink will show up real pretty. And I'm going to put this on, and then I'm not going to sand any more on that because that's not what you came to see. But I want to show you, once you put the sanding sealer on it, that pink comes back alive. All right. And there we got kind of a nice edge. It's rough. By the time you sand it to 400, it's going to be as smooth as that one bowl that I passed around. Okay?
Again, that is, what did you do half and half of?
That half lacquer sanding sealer and half lacquer thinner. What that does is dilutes the sanding sealer so that it'll dry almost immediately. Okay? You can use straight lacquer sanding sealer, and it'll dry in 5 minutes or so. But if you dilute it half and half, it'll dry almost instantly. And what? Exactly. It seeps into the wood faster. Yeah. It's just working with it quicker.
What else do you use? What other finish do you put on?
What I do, and that's what these bowls are, and the ones that I passed around, what they're finished with is that sanding sealer, and then I buff them with the Beal buffing system, the Triple E white diamond, and then the Beal buffing system recommends, or they give you carnauba wax. I found Renaissance wax works immensely better. Immensely better. It doesn't show the fingerprints. When I was doing craft shows and I used Canuba wax, after every show, I would have to re-wax all the bowls. With Renaissance wax, I don't ever re-wax them. People picking them up and touching them.
And where do you get the Renaissance wax?
They should sell it here. Yeah. Do they sell it here? Yeah, okay. Yeah. And it's just, you use it very sparingly, you put it on very sparingly, and then you buff it with that third wheel from the Beal buffing system. And you get, well, that finish. I mean, it's a nice finish. Renaissance wax was developed by the British Museum for their 1,000-year-old wood pieces. And they developed a good product. No. Well, once I sand it, if I'm going to sand it to 400, then I'll just put the sanding sealer on it. What happens, and this is important when you're using Renaissance wax or even Canuba wax, is it's absolutely critical that you buff it. Okay, you buff it with the AAA. Don't use Renaissance wax just on a, over whatever, unless it's, you got a lacquer finish or something. What buffing does is it burnishes the wood. It burnishes the wood so that wax, that Renaissance wax, sits on top of the wood or sits on top of the burnishment. Okay, if you don't, you put on a sanding sealer on it and it roughs the wood up a little bit, raises the grain a little bit. Okay, but using the AAA, it knocks that down. So you do not have to sand it again. Yeah, no, there's only 2 compounds, and then the third one is Canuba wax. Okay, you use the AAA, that's the red stuff. And then the white diamond is the white stuff. All right, use both of those, and it's critical if you're going to use Renaissance wax that you buff the bowl first. Okay? All right, that's the outlay. Next, we're going to do an inlay. All right, and I have a bowl already here. This is aspen. Again, a kind of a boring piece of wood. Now, one thing I should pay attention to, how are we time-wise? 7? What time do I go till? Oh, okay, we got all kinds of time then. I don't have to move so fast at all. I'll put this over here. Oh, you want to be cleaned up by 9. Yeah. Okay. Let's pass this guy. You did pass this around. All right. Any other questions on an outlay? One thing I want to point out, when you do something like this, where you do an outside rim, a flying edge I call it, when you do that, do it upside down. Okay? Cut your groove from the bottom. All right? Not from the top here. Cut your groove from the bottom. That way, when you put your turquoise in, the rocks will sink to the bottom. All right? Let me pass this around and have you look at the difference between the bottom and the top. Okay? But it's done the same way. Cut a groove, put turquoise in, sand it, and this is just exactly what I did here and with that bowl up there. Okay, let's see if I can't fix these glasses to stay on a little better. I don't think I can. All right, here we're going to do an inlay. And I'm going to just use a Dremel drill with a little bit in it. And this is this particular bit I have has a drill bit end on it and then a double spiral cut. Okay? Let's see. There we go. Oh, there we go. You see there's a drill bit on it? Those are a little difficult to find. You used to be able to buy them from a place called Widget Supply, and they don't carry them anymore. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. So anyway, before they quit carrying them, I bought a whole bunch of them, and I have some of them. But Dremel doesn't make one, and nobody else I know of makes one. And what happens, the reason it's a really cool piece is it drills in, and then you can go sideways. With the double spiral cuts that Dremel has, you got to kind of push it in, and then you can go sideways. But this, let me show you how easy it is. We're going to take and make a little design here. Let's just do a little something like what I brought there. We'll just put some things like this, okay? And we'll turn this guy on. And Fordham machines work well. The one you buy from Penn State, I think, has one. A rotary tool. They all seem to work fine. Okay? We're just sort of going to follow my line there. Okay? Now, I'm going to turn this over and go through it backwards. And that will clean up those edges that I just cut. And even out all of my grooves so I'm about the same depth. And the depth is somewhere around 1/16 of an inch or so. The deeper you go, the more material you're going to use in filling it. Okay, and that's what we got a little design there. Now, to start with filling this, we're going to use we'll use two different things. We'll use some turquoise on it, and we'll use some green sand on it. Okay? The first thing I'm going to do is take my sanding sealer mixture here. And go over the wood. Okay? What that will do is keep the CA glue from staining the wood. All right? Your CA glue is going to stain the wood, in particular lighter colored woods. Darker woods, depends on what the wood is. It generally stains whenever I don't want it to. Okay? Now, in using turquoise, this is a cutesy little thing here that I made as a dispenser. A lot of you are pin turners. This is just a little thing I made to stand up, drilled a hole in it, put a pin tube in it. Cut the pin tube at an angle so that now I can, let me take this glove off. Now I can put this in that groove real easily without having to pick up the turquoise or the sand or whatever and put it in. Go ahead and get my hand here. All right. I can put a pretty doggone straight line there. Pretty nicely. Okay? That's a lot easier than picking it up and trying to pinch it in there. Huh? All right. And that's what will happen when you're putting it in. So a lot of you are pin turners. You got these pin tubes around. Make yourself a little dispenser. All right, next thing I'm going to do is, in putting the turquoise in, some of you, we talked about crushing up your own turquoise. When you crush it down to a powder, not always, but sometimes you'll get it so fine that it's like flour. And you know what happens when you got flour and you put a bead of water on it? It bubbles up. It doesn't penetrate that flour. Same thing happens with your turquoise. If you grind it too fine, it's like that flour. You put CA glue on it, and it beads up on top. To solve that problem, go to Hobby Lobby, buy some turquoise-colored sand. Okay? Mix it in with your turquoise powder. That will give it enough aeration in there that your CA glue will penetrate right in. Okay? Let me put these back on. Your CA glue will penetrate right in. You won't run into that trouble of it bubbling up on you. Okay. Here, I'm going to go ahead and put some of that sand. Let's go ahead and put it in here, in this dispenser. And go ahead and zoom in on that. Okay, and we're just going to put some of this powder in the bottom, because that's one of the questions. When you crush up your own turquoise, what do? You end up with more powder than you use. Well, this is what you do with it. Put it in the bottom of that trough, and then put your small chips just sitting on top. Okay? All right, we can kind of touch that down with my finger a little bit. And then I'll use thin CA glue. And I use these nozzles. I think that you guys get them from Starbond when you buy from the club here. That works super well. Those nozzles are really cool. Put a little spray on it. I'll go fall out. Okay? This is the accelerator. Okay? Next, let's do the rest of this up here. Yeah.
Could you use epoxy like you did on the rim?
No, because the epoxy is going to want to run around, and it takes too long to dry. It's going to run down, and then it's going to take you half an hour to dry, an hour, a couple hours. Here, I'm ready to continue working. We're absolutely ready to continue working. Okay, we're going to put on this one, put a little more in there. Again, what I'm trying to show is how simple this really is. How simple of a process inlaying is. Okay, a little spray on it again, and not falling out. Okay, that quick. I can keep right on working. All right, next let's put sand in here on the little branches coming out, or whatever you want to call it. All right, we'll take that. Again, this sand from Hobby Lobby is really an economical thing to work with. It doesn't have the recognition that turquoise has, but by golly, we've got a lot of boring wood here in Colorado, a lot of soft woods, and this gives it a whole nother dimension. Another thing I should say about spraying with accelerator, always be at least a foot away, 10 inches or 10 or 12 inches away. If you get too close on it, it'll bubble up with white. Okay, so stay about 10 or 12 inches away.
There are no fume issues with regard to that?
No what?
Fume?
Yes. That's why I say when I'm working at home, and I do a lot of this, I wear one of those 3M gas masks. What I have noticed, because I wear the gas mask, I don't have any problem with my nose or throat or anything. But what I have noticed is that my eyes it will bother my eyes. And so I have a fan sitting right next to me. I do this sitting down at a chair. And I have a fan right next to me, so it blows those fumes away. And if it's hurting my eyes, I know darn well it's going to hurt my lungs and nose and that kind of thing. So, yeah, again, that's those safety issues. Okay? All right, now I'm going to, let's I don't have a knife or a pliers. There we go. We're going to bust that edge off. That one I passed around had some turquoise on the edge there. I'll just show you how we can, well, we'll take the whole piece off. I'm going to take this Dremel piece and just kind of rough that up. Okay. All right. And to put something on the edge there, in this case we're going to put turquoise on, and we're going to use medium size turquoise. Oh, whoops. Oh, that was silly. Whoops. I got green in there. Maybe I can pick some of that out. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can pick some of that out. And then what we'll do with what's left, oh, looks beautiful. Let's see, where did my medium go? Oh, right here. I've got some medium pieces of turquoise, and then what I'm going to do, when you're putting it on the edge, take a piece, again, of this blue tape. Masking tape doesn't work so well because that CA glue gets to the masking tape and gets real gummy. Okay, now I'm going to take, again, this is where your powder comes in handy. Take your powder and put it on the bottom here. Cover the bottom with the powder. This just will give it a finished look. Then take medium-sized chips. I'll put them in here. And sprinkle, yeah, you can see this, all right? Sprinkle a medium-sized chips all around. Okay? All right, thin CA glue, just drip it on there. Not too much, not too little. Because what we want to do is we want to feel those turquoise chips sticking up. If you put too much glue on it, they'll all melt together. Now you can peel that tape right off. Stuck. All right. Next, what we're going to do is take some medium CA glue, and we're going to go over the whole thing. That way it's going to fill in little cracks and crevices, even the thing out, so that when I sand it, I've got a smoother surface. Okay? Spray that on, and that's for the most part dry. We'll give it just a second or two before we start sanding it. Any questions so far? Yeah. Pardon me? Oh, yeah, okay, CA glue. I use stick fast primarily because Dennis Liggett at Pikes Peak Woodturners sells it. And so I get a good wholesale price on it. But you guys have Star Bond here, and I used to use Star Bond before I switched Stick Fast, and I always kind of hated switching because I liked the guy who owns Star Bond. Paul is his name, really nice guy. And I've used other CA glues, and as far as I'm concerned, they're pretty good. Oh. I don't know, but what I do know is I wear that gas mask and have that fan sitting next to me. And I have no breathing issues at all. And I've been using a lot of CA glue for 15 years now. And that's the best advice I can give is wear protection. Oh, okay. Okay. I'll try to remember to bring what I use. All right. Okay, we're going to sand this. Now, somebody asked me about a smaller chuck or a smaller foot. Yeah, we got a smaller foot on this one. Now, I had marked both my chuck here with an X, and then I marked each bowl when I put it on. And so I go to that X, and where the mark is on my bowl, I put that back in the same place that it came out of. And that's really important because in doing inlays and outlays, you're going to take your bowl on and off the chuck multiple times. So you want to mark it. That's spinning true. You want to mark it so you can put the bowl back in the same place you took it off. All right, next is sanding this. Now, on doing the outside edge on an outlay, you can use aluminum oxide sandpaper because you got an outside edge there. You got a concave or a convex surface. Here we got a concave surface. If you use aluminum oxide sandpaper, which you can use, and I used for a number of years, but I got real good at the touch of using a drill and just a light touch there. All right. You can get good at it, but chances are you're going to have a bubble there where your inlay is. So what I recommend is diamond sandpaper, or diamond sanding disc, actually. And there's only two places I know of that you can get them, and that's a Sanding Glove in Virginia and me. They're expensive, okay? The 2-inch sanding disc, what I recommend, they're like $20. No, they're $25 now. And a 3-inch is $45. But in doing a bowl like this, a 2-inch sanding disc, doing inlay like this will last you 100 bowls. Yeah, it's going to last you a long time. Provided you do one thing, not let it get too hot. Okay? Usually when I'm sanding, I'll have my air hose here, and so I'm blowing air on it. Or if you can't do that, sand and then stop and blow air on it, stop for a little bit and let it cool down. And the reason you do that is these little buttons of diamonds are put on here with an epoxy glue. And epoxy glue, if you get it too hot, it wants to separate. Okay? So it's critical not to get it too hot for too long. You can let it get hot, but not for too long. All right. What happens with a diamond sanding disc is diamond doesn't work worth a darn on wood, but it works super well on any hard material. So it doesn't sand the wood worth a darn. So your wood stays flat and it sands the inlay very nicely. And those bowls I passed around, you see where you couldn't hardly feel it? All right. And how much sanding? this will go this quickly. All right, and that's done. Well, there's one little spot there. If I have my eyes closed, I couldn't tell where the inlay is and the wood is. We're going to do one more thing to this, though, before I pass it around. And that's, we now have, we probably have some little divots in here. On the sand, it isn't too bad. On the turquoise, there's little divots in there. Take some of this medium CA glue and go back over it. Okay? That will fill in those little divots. Let me get down here so I don't shake so bad. Okay. And we'll go over the sand a little bit. Now, you notice I did not put any sanding sealer down. I'm trying to stay, as they say to my 3-year-old granddaughter, stay in the lines. Don't color outside the lines. Okay. I got outside the line a little bit, but not bad. Okay? Now, that'll fill in any little divots. Go back over with a medium CA glue. Okay? We'll put it back in. Same place it came out of. And we're going to sand that. This is 70 grit diamond disc. They come in basically two grits, 70 and 120, and I recommend a 70. If you get into doing a lot of stuff, you might want a 120, just clear up scratches. But 70 is good enough. One of them's good enough. Okay? Go back over this. Like that. Flip it around. Now, I don't know what you all have been doing for sanding turquoise, but I'll bet it wasn't any faster than what I've done here. Yes, I will go back over this. I got one little divot right in here. The rest of it's fine. I'm going to leave that just so you'll see what I mean by a little divot. It's right in this area here. Okay, we're going to put some, now I can go back over this with my aluminum oxide sandpaper. And I would start here. I already sanded this with 120. So here I would go to 180 with a soft mandrel, or 220 again with a soft mandrel. From here on out, I'm going to sand it with a soft mandrel, not a hard one. Okay? Let me put some sanding sealer on here, and it'll bring the color of this out. Now, and I'm not going to go back and sand the whole thing, because we'll get it smoother. I mean, those bowls I passed around are the idea of how smooth you can get it. Yeah, there's a divot right there, but the rest of it, that's pretty darn smooth. Okay? Any other questions on that type of inlay? All right, we're going to do one more type of inlay here. And again, I got a piece of aspen. And here, let's start with there's a little crack right here. Yeah, you can see that. Let's see, there you go. There's a little crack right there. All right, we're going to go ahead and start with that crack and disguise him. And with that, what I have, again, is a Dremel. Fordham's work just as well, with a right angle tool. Okay? Yep, it does. Okay? Here's how we're going to fix the backside. We'll start with that. Because well, wait a minute. I'll show you what we'll do. Goes all the way through. Let's break a little bit of this off. Does anybody have a pliers? I didn't bring one. We'll do it like this. There we go. That'll work. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, thank you. Okay, we just want to grab a hold of this, and I'm just going to bust that off. I don't want to bust off a whole lot of it, just a little bit of it here. I'm cracking that too much. Go ahead and get that back to him. Here's what we'll do. We'll cut it off with this little Dremel here. Okay, that was noisy enough. All right, now we've got this crack that goes all the way through. And what we're going to do, we're going to take this Dremel with a right angle tool, and I made a little thing. These are cutoff wheels. And I put 3 of them on here. We're going to take this and just cut a little design here. Smokey. Again, I'd have a fan next to me. All right. Now, I've got another one that has 1 wheel on it. Now, look at our little design. Okay? What I'm going to do is take and extend some of these. If you look at it now, it's like, oh, yeah, I see how you did that. You just cut wheels in there. But if I take a single one, I'm going to go over some of these and deepen them a little bit first. And then I'm going to do some extension here. So they're not all the same length. Okay? And I'm able to get in those grooves easily. Okay, now I've got something that looks like a bit of a design. Let's see, where am I here? Right there. Okay, where they're not all the same length. Now, you asked about the backside. What we're going to do on the backside, right down here, I'm going to show you. Okay, on the backside where it's cracked, let's just go ahead and continue our design. Okay? And we've disguised that crack totally now. All right? Again, I would normally be sitting down doing this, but I want to show you how really simple it is. We've continued our design on the backside. All right, now we're going to inlay this. First thing we start with is our sanding sealer. Put just a little bit of it on there. Nope. Nope. We're going to cover that burn up, and you won't see it. The same as in the bowls that I passed around that were finished. Okay. Here we're going to just use powder. And let's use this sand. That's kind of cool stuff. Again, we'll just put it in. Kind of move my fingers over it. And you asked about that, where they all met at the bottom there. It's just going to take on a little more sand.
So you don't cut out those little bit of spots that are, for better word, that crisscross?
No. Nope. Okay. Put that on there. Like that.
Larry, could you use that metallic powder, or is it too finely ground?
No. I mean, that's a good question, but I think it is. It's too finely ground, and then it's going to, when I put the CA glue in, it's just going to melt to the bottom. That'd be a good thing to experiment with, but that would be my feeling about what's going to happen with that. These little nozzles, that one's plugged up. Just take a scissors and cut it off, and we're right back to work. Uh-huh. Really? Uh-huh. See, that's the whole thing. There's a bunch of things out there that are, I don't know if that's economical or not, but if it's real economical, I mean, it's another enhancement for, your kind of bland wood bowls. I'm not suggesting you do this on, a high dollar piece of bird's eye maple burl, but on a lot of our bland woods that we have. I mean, the beetle kill ponderosa pine, a little turquoise or colored inlay in that adds a whole different dimension to it. And the same with aspen. Okay, I'm going to go back over this with a little thin stuff, medium. I'm not going to do the back side because I want you to see, when I pass this around, I want you to see what the difference is. Here, what we started with and what we're ending with. All right, on the edge again, we could take where that edge is busted off, and to differentiate between our front and back and where that crack is. Again, I would just take a little turquoise powder here, put that all along. Yeah, there are. Malachite is one, yeah. That's where Dennis Liggett, and I think he's going to demo here in a couple months or so, is that right? Yeah. He has all manner and sorts of other stones. I remember Christmas one year, he made trees, little trees, and put branches around them, put stones around them, and he had the 12 days of Christmas. So I know he had at least 12 different stones. Okay? Pipestone is another one. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that would be a good question for Dennis when he comes. What all does he carry? Because he has, I think he said at one point he had like 15 different stones. Okay, we'll put this turquoise on the edge here, separate our front from our back. All right, now I'm going to take this over and sand it. Again, I have my bowl marked here, so I can put it on, and that's really critical about in doing inlays or outlays, is to mark your bowl so you can always put it back in the same spot, because you will be taking it on and off numerous times. All right, we're going to sand the diamond paper. Yes. And it's not a paper, it's a, let me pass one around here. Well, that's the 3-inch. The 2 inch isn't quite as bad. I didn't hear that, but all right, this is what it's like. It's Velcro. And that's a diamond disc. Like I said, I'm not the only person that has it. Bruce Hoover at Sanding Disc has it. And I used to sell Bruce's for them until I got to the point where, gosh, I sold tons of them, and Bruce didn't give me much of a good price on it. so I ended up buying them myself direct. No, he didn't. But what I had a friend that worked at 3M, and I was telling him about it one day, and he said, well, 3M makes them. And that's how